Welcome to Mastering the Numbers, your go-to podcast for a deep dive into the world of business and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Joe Marlow. Join me as I sit down with successful business owners to uncover their journeys, learnings, successes, and future plans. From market trends to personal stories of triumph, Mastering the Numbers delivers invaluable insights to fuel your own entrepreneurial spirit. So grab a seat and get ready to be inspired. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mastering the Numbers. This is Joe Marlow with the Lead Edge Consulting Group. We are powered by Focal Point Business and Executive Coaching. My guest today is Lorraine Shuker, founder and CEO for Prosper for Purpose. Once again, thank you very, very much for being a part of my podcast.
Thanks for inviting me, Joe. It's great to speak with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. For the audience, can you tell them a little bit about Prosper for Purpose?
Yeah, sure. Prosper for Purpose is a brand and PR agency that helps its clients impact the world and the bottom line. So, in other words, we help clients that have some kind of social purpose or environmental purpose. We work with parks and organizations like that that are about conserving and enjoying the environment. We also work with people like coaches, consultants, and big businesses that through their products or services are trying to create a positive impact. So we do everything from what we call front door copywriting, which is your website, to printed materials, to social media management. We basically find the words for who you are and then help you convey them in a way that speaks to the people you want to serve. And then we help you choose and show up on the channels that are actually going to move the needle for your business. So my background is I have a degree in journalism. I had a focus on in PR. I did PR for most of my career before I launched Prosper for Purpose, which is 11 years ago at this point. We're 11 years old. And I just really felt that there had to be a better way to kind of merge what was happening in nonprofits and what was happening in for-profits. I felt like there was a big gap, and I wanted to help those people that didn't feel that they felt comfortably in either category.
Okay, great. Well, what prompted you to start this organization?
I couldn't find the next place I wanted to work, honestly. I was not one of those people that always thought someday I'm going to have my own business. It really was not on my radar, but I found that there were times in my life when I was moving or going through some other changes, becoming a mom, where I wanted more flexibility and I would freelance for a while. But what happened a couple of times is more and more people were coming to me, and I thought, I don't know how to make this a business. And so I would just kind of scale back, and then I go back to work and I would keep some of the freelance going. But this time I just felt like, if not now, when? And I think I also recognized that other gap in the market. And I thought, I've been aware of this for most of my career. And maybe now's the time to actually create a business that could fill that gap and bring everything I learned from spending half of my career in the nonprofit sector and blend it with best business practices from everything that I'd learned in corporate America. So that was the idea behind my business. And I started Prosper for Purpose from my kitchen table, a kitchen table business, and launched. And we ended up finding clients right out of the gate. And it's just been a wonderful, wild ride for the past 11 years.
That's great. What were some of the biggest challenges or struggles that you had to overcome over the
Well,
last 10 years?
I think the struggles are pretty much the same for every business. It's you start a business because you love your craft and you want to be able to do that. But when you're a business owner, you also have to manage everything, right? And so I built our first website. I'm not a visual creative, I'm a written creative. So that was like, okay, I did it, but just because I can doesn't mean I should. Same thing with accounting and bookkeeping. We did get a bookkeeper like a couple months in because it was like, okay, this is not my area of expertise. And so I think that I quickly learned that even though I probably could do all of the things, that I needed to very quickly make enough money that I could take the things that I could do, but weren't really in my highest and best use space, and find people who could do them better and faster than I could, so I could concentrate on what was moving the needle in my business. I think that's something that most new entrepreneurs just don't know. They think, well, I'm starting this business, I have to do it all myself, and that can be really defeating. And I think it contributes to why so many businesses don't make it through their first year and don't make it through the first five, where there's another huge drop off.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. As I talk to a lot of business owners, that's a huge struggle. The first is the fact they think they have to do it all because they just
Right.
started a business, or they don't trust other people to do those parts of it. They have a real fear of delegation. And
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, to continue to grow and to be successful long term, you have to learn to delegate the things that aren't your specialties. So I would agree.
Yeah. It's a good lesson to
100%.
learn. Yeah.
It is. It is for sure. Um, so, is there anything that you would have done different in setting up your business? Not a different industry, but just in the process of setting it up and growing it over the last 10 years?
I would have made decisions differently. And this is like, it's like a real tender area, and not too many entrepreneurs talk about this, but I think um, I'm a nurturer, I'm a firstborn, I'm also a people pleaser, which a lot of women are, especially. And I think as I was building my business, I was focused so much on my clients, and I had team right out of the gate, and so much focused on how does this feel for you? Is everything good? Da 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 da. That sometimes I was too much in the weeds and concerned with not just, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it's not that you shouldn't train your people, and it should not that you shouldn't pay a lot of attention to your clients, but I got taken advantage of a lot. Not the first year in business, but after the first year, where I kind of felt like, okay, I've kind of got this now. It just, it creeps up on you, and there's people that, because you're in business, they want to do business with you as a way to grow their business, not necessarily to be your client. And so people kind of can come out of the woodwork, or you can interview someone that does great in an interview, but when they show up, they really, like, no matter how much you invest in them, it doesn't really move the needle. So I would make smart decisions, I would make smarter decisions, and I would make smart decisions faster, because I got really sucked into, well, maybe it's me, maybe someone else can train them. And then that didn't work. Or, just kind of being me instead of, being me, the person, rather than me, the business owner. I guess that's the best way to define it. And I finally got it. I went through 10,000 small businesses, and it was such a great program. I wish I would have done it sooner. So if anyone's listening, I think you only have to have like 150,000 a year in revenue. And I shouldn't say only, because for some people hitting that mark is a struggle. So I hear that. But they provide great training on that. And, people who say their business is a family and all of that, I think that's great if you've created that over time. But I think if you're thinking that and trying to create that very early, that you're going to have some serious setbacks, as I did. And I finally came to the point where, my business is my baby, and the people who get to work in this business with me are caretakers. And just like when you have a babysitter, you train them, but you also, keep an eye on how things are going. And if they're not taking care of your child the way you want them to, you're not going to keep having them come back, right? Especially when you're leaving and going other places. The same is true in a business. Your business is your baby. The people you work with are caretakers of that business. You have to train them and trust them, but you also have to keep an eye on how they're actually impacting the business. And if it's not in the way that you want them to, of course, you give them opportunities to course correct, but but ultimately there's some people that won't work out, and that's not necessarily on you and it's not necessarily on them. It's just about the fit. So it's a
Right.
huge answer, but that's kind of
That's
what
okay.
that's the biggest thing I've had to overcome in business.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate you sharing that with the group. So that kind of leads me into a question I ask everybody, and it's all built around work-life balance. I bring this up all the time because for 28 years in corporate world, I never had any. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't trying to find it, but I realized a few years ago, which is what prompted me to start a business, that it was becoming increasingly important as my son got older and things of that nature. So, how do you try to remain or find some type of work-life balance?
I call it work life integration. And that to me, balance means, oh, I've got to weigh what's over here and I've got to weigh what's over here and make sure they're even. Life isn't even. No relationship is even. Your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your friends, over time, it may or may not even out. But ultimately, I'm not about measuring. Can I show up for my family when I want to and when they need me? Yes. Do I work more as a business owner than I did when I was working in corporate or large nonprofits? Yes. But the balance thing is off the table. It's how can I integrate? I want to take Friday afternoons off. So I'm going to get up Saturday morning, and before I do my regular Saturday routine, I'm going to plug in a couple of hours just to kind of wrap up the week. I'm going to take a look at things Sunday night, make sure I'm ready to go the following week. I may work some nights so that I feel good taking off that time. And of course, wherever you are in your life, if you have small children or you're really active and other things, say you travel for a passion, sports or camping or whatever, it has to work for you. So I don't believe that there's any time management expert that's going to get you to the perfect balance. I think you can learn some fundamental truths and some ways. I live on block scheduling. I block schedule my days, I block schedule my time for things. And that's how I've found an efficient way to move through what I need to accomplish. But as far as that work life integration, ultimately you have the tools, you use the ones that work, you disregard the ones that don't. And for me, it's on a week to week evaluation. How did I feel this week? Was I able to show up in the ways that I wanted? And if not, what can I do better?
I would agree. You almost have to look at it on a week-to-week basis. Nothing can ever be set in stone with work-life balance or integration. So, well, so within your business, with everything you have going on, how do you stay ahead of the competition? Because certainly there are competitors out there that do something maybe similar, right?
Sure, there's people that do similar things, even as much. So we became a certified B Corp in 2016. So there's a whole more than 8,000 businesses around the world that do what I do, using business as a force for good in all different ways. So Danone, Warby Parker, Patagonia, Ben and Jerry's, those are all B Corps. So if you think about them, they all do vastly different things. Athleta, which is one of my favorites. And so you can have products or services. You can use your business as a force for good. There's many other ways. We're assessed every 3 years, but there's also a lot of agencies. So people like me that are helping purpose-driven leaders create brands of social and environmental impact. I don't look at them as competitors. I look at them as peers. And I know that people are like, oh, yeah, yeah, sure. There might be a client that someone else gets. And I think, oh, I would have loved to have worked with that client. But I firmly believe that there's enough work for all of us. And I think the only time you should really look at your competitors is if you're rebranding and looking for the gap in that you can speak to. Um, or when like you're doing something that's out of the box and maybe you think, I don't know if anyone else is actually doing this. And you want to say we're the first or we're the original or things like that, maybe on a year to year basis. But I think people spend a lot of time looking at their competition, and that helps you become more of an, and now I'm speaking from a marketing standpoint, my background, helps you become more vanilla because you're like, oh, I'm going to do something like that. And I have my clients tell me, well, the leader in my industry does this, so I thought we should say that. I'm like, no, that's when you double down on your unique factors. What do you do differently? Who are you that impacts your business versus everybody else that makes the same offer? Your difference is in the gap you fill, how you fill that gap, who you are, the way you position your offers. You don't want to be like other people. So
Right. I
that's,
mean, there you have to be able to stand out.
yeah, your competitive edge is you.
Right. Right. For sure. So where do you see your business in the next 12 to 36 months?
I'm glad you didn't say 12 to 36 years because when you said 12, I thought, is he going to ask me about 12 years? 12 to we are really, so we are writers and I always say we're strategists and storytellers. So, what is the right story? Whether it's the story on your website, the story on your sales pages, the story that you want to bring to the media, and where do those stories go? And who should you connect with? I don't see that changing. We've been doing a lot more writing recently as people see, because I wasn't really saying we're copywriters, but let's face it, my background is journalism, advertising copy, creative writing. I bring all those, seemingly unrelated writing skills together to write for my clients, as do other members of my team who have their own experiences. But what I do for every client is look from that 10,000, 20,000 foot view. How are you communicating now? Who are the people that you want to work with? And I do that overview with them of, well, here's where I see room for improvement. We need to hone your messaging. We need to, you just have your website, you're not driving people to your website, or you're doing something really cool. Have you ever reached out to the media to get media coverage? And you'd be surprised. So it's really that, what is the strategy to achieve our business goals? What is our message, and where are we getting that message out so that we bring in the people that we can best serve?
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges you see standing in the way over the next 12 to 36 months?
I would say people's use or kind of confusion around AI is a big one in my industry. So a lot of people think, well, I can just, tell AI ChatGPT that I want homepage website copy for a plumbing business and put in a few things and it's going to give me just as great copy as a copywriter. No, they won't. It doesn't. I'm not totally against AI. I think it is a great idea thought starter. I can say that, I've used it for subject lines or hooks or things like that. I've never used any of them, but they've sparked enough that I could go do something else. And if you use
Yeah.
them for that kind of thing, it's fine. But what you miss, and what I'm going to be talking about more and more is, look, if you and I sat down and I did an intensive with you, I would know your story. I would know your personal purpose. I would know why you started your business. I would know things that just came up in the conversation that you would go, oh gosh, I never thought about that. We would weave that into your copy. AI can't do that. AI can
Yeah.
only mm, write copy for you based on what you tell it. So I think it's a big miss for people to think that technology is going to cure their copywriting, because it won't. But I think that's something that we'll be continuing to talk about over the next 12 to 18 months for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with AI and myself, certainly if I want to reword something, I can drop it in there. But most of the time, I don't know what I want to say. So I need someone to help bring that out of me
Yeah.
and understand what to put down. So I agree. What's the best advice? What's the best business advice you've ever gotten from somebody?
To do things before you're ready. So that, I mean, I started a business, biggest leap of faith I ever took in my life, second to marrying my husband. Um, I think that you do things before you're ready. Done is better than perfect. And I think a lot of times we're so much more powerful than we believe we are. And so I'm a big proponent of mentorship. I've had a mentor or a coach at every stage of my business, and those mentors and coaches have changed as my needs have changed and my business has grown and I've developed. And so if you can't afford a business coach, look for mentors. And I think that's so invaluable. But because your mentors will see things in you that you don't see in yourself, and they'll say, "That's so good," and they'll encourage you. But the best advice I ever got from someone about business is to do it before you're ready.
That's good advice. It probably fits in with me as well, which I guess kind of leads to the last question is what advice would you give to an individual that is thinking about starting a business, but they just can't get over the edge? Is it that same thing?
Yeah, I would say that, well, it can be internal or external. So I'm the type of person when something goes wrong or you're not really ready or you're like hesitating, like, I don't know, should I start this business? Because I was there too. And when I look back at when I was freelancing and got busy, I'm really glad I didn't make the decision to start my business at that time. So if something's holding you back, you first look internally. You say, do I have the skills? Do I have the extra amount of time and energy it's going to take to launch this at now? Like if you're about to move across the country, probably not the right time to start a business, right? So thinking about things like that. But when you look inside, if what's stopping you is there's so much competition out there, what if I'm not good enough? Then you need to get over yourself because nothing, you can always undo it, right? You can always go back and get a job. There's no shame in that. People find out they're not meant to be entrepreneurs, just like they find out they're not meant to work for other people. But I would say that look inside yourself, and if you know you have the skills and you know you have the experience, then it's really how do I find someone who can mentor me, whether it's the small business association or a mentor or whoever that person is, just to get you over that initial finish line to get out in the
Yeah.
world. Because
Yeah.
if you're thinking about it, it's probably something you should do, and the world needs what you have to offer.
Right. I think that's great advice. I think I've had a mentor for about 17 years, and they've been invaluable to my career path. So I 100% agree. Listen, Lorraine, I really appreciate you taking part in this podcast. Thank you for all the great information. If anybody out there that's listening wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
You can go to our website at prosperforpurpose.com, and four is FOR. And you can shoot us an email. You can check out our podcast called Brand for Good, which is what we're all about. But we're really easy to find, or Google my name. It'll be in the show notes. And feel free to reach out.
Great. Thanks, Lorraine, and thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Mastering the Numbers. Take care, everybody.
You've just experienced another insightful episode of Mastering the Numbers. We hope you enjoyed the journey and gained valuable insights to fuel your financial success. Don't forget to subscribe to Mastering the Numbers on your favorite podcast platform to never miss an episode. And be sure to leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Until next time, keep pushing forward and let your entrepreneurial spirit soar. Thank you for listening.